Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Whiplash as PlayStation makes big changes to its future plans, and is the US government about to do a repeat of the TikTok situation, but this time for video games. It's going to be a good one because we have Jan Ochoa on the show. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, same. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot, but I'm at a point where it's feeling more helpless than ever, and kind of just waiting for things to break good for once. Still waiting though, and it's been a minute since things have broken good. But in the meantime, we could just do this show, talk about some video games where the news is always rosy and shiny and wonderful. Never any problems over here, right?
Never any problems. Been nothing but good reporting. People having fun in this industry where we all some people make the games, some people sell the games, some people talk about the games. It's all good.
It's all good. All right. You know what? We do have a lot to talk about. We should probably get started here and explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb in an internet video game doofuses. We're independent games media, though. That means we need your help. Go to giantbomb.com/join. Become a premium member. Gets you a lot of extra stuff. Ad-free shows. Gets you 9 lives of Mr. Mistopheles. It's going to get you Marry Me Tomodachi. It's going to get you Grub Snacks Premium and more very soon, as well as all of our, when we do a film in 40s and stuff will pop up in there. It's a good time. But really what it gets you is the knowledge that you are supporting independent games media and ensuring that we're going to stick around for the long term and keep making stuff the way we like to do it, the way you like to do it. Thank you so much. And if you can't support us financially, we understand. Go tell a friend. In the meantime, as far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Sony reportedly scaling back PC ports for PlayStation exclusives. This is from Sophie McAvoy at GamesIndustry.biz, reporting on a report from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg. Sony has reportedly decided to pull back from releasing PlayStation 5 exclusives onto PC. Sources familiar with the company's plans told Bloomberg that PS5 games have not sold well on the platform. They also said PC ports risk damaging the console's brand and could hurt sales of the PS5 and its successors. A spokesperson for PlayStation declined to provide comment to Bloomberg. Online games, including Marathon and Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, are still expected to launch across multiple platforms. Sony previously published Helldivers 2 on PC at launch, unlike its single-player titles, which have longer periods of exclusivity. Ghost of Yotei and Housemarque's upcoming action title Saros are reportedly staying exclusive to PS5. The one caveat here is stuff like Death Stranding 2 on the Beach and Kena Scars of Cosmora, these games that are like external studios, but Sony's publishing them on the PlayStation. Those will go to PC. So those are the exception here. Okay. Jan, it seems to come down to this. They're saying that it comes down to, some of these games didn't sell very well on PC. And I bet it's I'm sure that's part of it. But all along they were saying, hey, we do a little bit of work and it's like printing money no matter how much it sells on PC kind of. It's I bet most of those projects did recoup their cost. I would be surprised if any one of them did not. But it also feels like, and I saw Matt Piscatella saying this on social media, that it kind of feels like, there was a conversation with the executives about let's change some things up in the future. Let's restructure the way that we measure our success. And that required them to come up with new strategies that are different from the old strategies. So it's we're just going to go back to the old way of doing things for a bit. I'll tell you what, this doesn't feel very permanent to me. I think when they do this for a handful of games, they wait till we get on the other side of Grand Theft Auto 6. Maybe they wait till the early days of PlayStation 6, and then PS5 games begin coming to PC again. There's nothing says that in the reporting. That's just the sense I get. What do you think?
I just think that this is an odd decision to make when you are trying to appeal to a larger, broader, as much of an audience as possible. And I don't think it is a two-way street for PC players that have been on the PC for an extended period of time to go back to consoles for as much as it is for console players to eventually get onto that on-ramp to become and also join like the PC ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a difficult adjustment. And for me personally, like I much rather prefer playing things on a PC just due to the nature of our jobs because everything is centrally located. And also I can do other things on my computer at the same time versus a console, which is just going to play games. And for some people, that's enough for them. It just, I see folks in our chat saying some of the PC ports were bad or just really
at least
rough
started
upon
bad.
launch.
Yeah.
Financially, it doesn't make sense to me. Even if they weren't selling insane amounts of copies, you were still selling copies. You were still selling, and like you said, Grubb, they probably recouped their cost of whatever it took to port them over to the PC. It just baffles me. I just don't understand it. Especially like Grubb, like Helldivers 2 was a runaway success. And part of that was being available everywhere.
Right. And it's like, yeah, that was day one. That's one of the differences there. And the multiplayer games like Helldivers 2 doesn't sound like anything's going to change. They're going to keep releasing those probably on day one on PC and PlayStation. But I think what you're getting at, what I took away from that is it seemed like Helldivers 2 specifically benefited from being day one on both consoles and sold more or both platforms and sold more because of it. And it's like, okay, why not use that data and extrapolate from there? And I think, part of this comes down to they still are trying to sell a console. They make a lot of money from people purchasing microtransactions on that console. And they're probably not like losing a lot of players from PlayStation to PC, but they're probably losing some as part of this.
Sure.
And then are they gaining any PC users back to PlayStation, as you said? Doesn't really it feels like the water flows more one way than the other.
Yeah.
There's also the side of it that like these games, like I have a list of the games that came to PC from PlayStation recently, and it's Horizon, God of War, both Horizons, God of War, both Spider-Mans, all three Spider-Mans, I think all three Spider-Mans at this point. The Last of Us, Part 1 at least, I think Part 2 might have came to PC at this point. Uncharted, Ghost of Tsushima, Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, Days Gone, Helldivers 1 and 2, the Death Stranding game, Sackboy, and then they like the MLB games. They published that Predator Hunting Grounds game. I bet a lot of these did pretty well. Did any of them do like extraordinarily well? I think Ghost of Tsushima apparently did very well on PC. I bet the Spider-Man games did very well on PC. At a certain point, they do run out of those, and it's like, okay, we have ones that are lesser than. And I do remember games like Ratchet and Clank sort of landing with a thud on PC, and like Sackboy like didn't do anything at all on PC. And I bet PlayStation looks at this and it's like, we are making money on PC, but we have to give up 30% to Steam, and then on top of that, we kind of lose the luster, the magic of what these exclusives do when they're just on PlayStation. When Sackboy's on Steam, it's just another video game. When it's just on PlayStation, it's one more game on the list that people can look to and say, this is one of those things that makes me feel special as a PlayStation owner, and that I can use to justify my purchase or to feel good about it. And it's like that's kind of like an X factor that I bet PlayStation's aware of and didn't like wanted to see like, hey, are we going to lose any of that luster if we put these things on PC? And I bet they feel like a little bit like, maybe not, but there's a potential that stuff erodes slowly over time. And that is why, Jan, that I think that this is probably temporary.
Sure.
Because there's only so long that you look at that X factor before it goes back to, but we make more money if we put it in more places. So I bet they flip back in 5 to 6 years, if even that long. Again, does that sound right?
Yeah, that's the calculus that's playing out in my head, Grubb. I think ultimately the math is going to look a certain way where it will be more profitable to be on as many places as possible. We already see something similar with like other media, TVs and TV shows and movies where they will be on one streaming service and then quickly be spread out onto multiple stuff. Like certain anime gets spread out across not just like a Crunchyroll, but then it gets put onto Hulu or Netflix because it's trying to reach as wide of an audience as possible. An interesting take that I saw as I was scrolling through the internet earlier today, Grubb, when this news broke, people are bringing up the possibility that Sony doesn't quite enjoy that these games, at least after they've gone through the initial like rough parts of being ported over, they generally will look better on a PC. And that is kind of like hurting, that may potentially hurt PlayStation HQ because like, oh, these games look better there than they do on our actual consoles. And do you think that it all factors into any of that decision? Does it perhaps like they're trying to rein everyone in before a PS6 eventually comes out and tempering those expectations of like, hey, this is what you should expect here, because they're trying to control the narrative and that like you can't see what it could potentially look better as over there on a PC because it's only here on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably something to that, especially like considering it sounds like they're going to launch the PS6 with a handheld PlayStation as well. That'll be reduced in power, and I bet they want to make that feel special as well. And they don't want to have the comparisons to these other PC handhelds that will certainly keep coming out and getting more powerful, and could, by the time the PS6 handheld launches, there could be a handheld PC that makes those games run way better. And that would be a tough point of comparison because I bet the pricing is going to be pretty similar across all of those. I think they want to navigate this in a silo a little bit.
Like the Steam machine now also has to factor into all these console manufacturers' plans, right? Because that is a huge library that some of their games are also going to be available on, right? Like you could play Ghost of Tsushima on the Steam machine, and it could look theoretically maybe better than a PS5 right now.
Yeah, and it's like there are a lot of these specific changes we keep bringing up, and all these things in the market that are like, oh, I wonder how that's going to shake out. And I bet it's more of that, of like PlayStation is like the rest of us, like, oh man, things are changing fast in the gaming market. People's consumer behavior, our ability to like sort of re-engage these consumers that have maybe grown frustrated or bored by gaming as it kind of stagnated there, at least the games that they were engaging with. And we're not sure how these things are going to shake out. What is going to happen with Linux on PC and like we're driven by Steam? And what is going to happen with these handhelds? And what's going to happen with our hardware? And what's going to happen with RAM prices? I bet like this feels like going to ground a little bit, just retreating and being like, we can reestablish this program, no problem. Like if we just keep pushing forward, though, it kind of limits our ability to like to adapt to whatever does happen next. And we know we're safe and secure in our own walled garden because we've done that for a very long time. And any sort of efforts we make in that space is going to pay dividends toward improving our brand, improving our ability to make revenue by having more people getting a PlayStation or what have you. It's, Grand Theft Auto 6 really is this massive thing that is like going to sell a ton of PlayStations.
Yeah.
And they probably just want to see what that world looks like right after that. And then I bet things fall into place for them in terms of developing their strategy.
It's I think I've grown to have a little bit of friction that GTA 6 will save the industry.
It's not going to save any. It's just going to change it for sure.
Yes. It is going to drastically change things. Who knew, Grubb, that an innocuous question to Asha Sharma of like, do you want to bring back console exclusives? And then her maybe misunderstanding the question or not having full context of answering the question would lead to this.
Here we are. I think, and things are just going to keep being weird in this industry, and this is part of that.
Grubb, so sorry if I missed it, but multiplayer games are not going to be included in this?
So like it sounds like what happened with Helldivers is going to continue happening with Marathon and then Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, and the implication being any future online multiplayer games will continue to be treated just like Helldivers was.
Okay.
So
because like with this strategy that Sony has been taking of live service games, it would feel like you're instantly kneecapping a game's performance right out the gate if you are like cutting out that PC market. Okay, all right.
Yep. Yeah, and it's again, that's another thing. It's like, so yeah, they're not going all out about retreating to PlayStation. This is a sort of limited retreat, and I bet they come back into this space in a few years, if not sooner. All right, next story. 3 months after closing the Game Awards, Highguard is officially shutting down. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Troubled free-to-play shooter Highguard is officially shutting down little over 6 weeks after its high-profile launch. Developer Wildlight Entertainment has confirmed. Highguard launched on January 26th, following its bold announcement at the Game Awards in December, but despite initially reaching millions of players, according to its developer player numbers quickly plummeted, and Wildlight laid off most of its development team in the aftermath. Now, the California-based studio has confirmed that Highguard will shut down entirely on March 12th. In an updated post on social media, it said that the game had not been able to attract enough players to sustain development long term. One final update will be released this week, it said. That's going to have like a new character and account level progression and stuff like that. It's like, it sounds like people on that team were trying to get things ready for a future, and this game just didn't really have one. And here we are. So, you know, the real story here is the game came out, got some players, not enough to meet the minimum threshold for Tencent to come in with more money. And once that money was not there, the game was immediately sort of unviable. They laid a bunch of people off, maybe thinking if we're more streamlined, maybe we can get they probably thought maybe we can get some investment from somewhere else. Well, no one's investing in games right now, especially not one like this that it's down on the mat. And there's kind of no choice here. There's just not going to be enough money to make this game make sense, or like over the next several years as it would take to probably to recoup it. And would that even be worth it in the first place? So here we are. It felt like inevitable as soon as that game launched the way it did. What do you think, Jan?
It's really unfortunate, Grubb, and it's been unfortunate right out the gate for the Highguard team. Having that last spot at the Game Awards unfortunately did not help it out. In public perception, it definitely did draw people to it just out of morbid curiosity, but like right out the gate, Grubb, playing the game definitely wasn't for me. I don't think we as a team necessarily meshed well with it either. Also, it's just such a busy, crowded space that how are you expecting to compete if you are not like tied to an IP already? If even like these big players in the game are failing to get a foothold. And the unfortunate part is that when you were tied to Tencent like this, and Tencent is not seeing the immediate return, which is an insane idea to have an immediate return on a game like this in this specific genre, the rug is going to get pulled from underneath you.
Yep. Yeah. And it's, it probably was not the game that the bet was made thinking it would be once it launched. But it's like, oh yeah, you probably should have had a different strategy for this in the first place. Give it a chance to build up slowly. And it's like, no, we can replicate what happened with Apex Legends. And it's like, that was, what was it? 2018, 2019 for that? That was a while ago.
World too.
Very, very different world. Absolutely. In the super chat here, Boat Knight says, will the one more thing at the Game Awards be awkward now, Jan? It's certainly going to be something that Jeff Keighley, I'll say this about him. He always responds to the biggest criticism and the loudest voices about what could be better about his shows. And he continues to get a lot of shit for this. And people still don't believe that that he just liked the game and liked the studio and wanted to give them the last slot because he's like, this would be cool. And it's like, you guys just don't know Jeff Keighley. Of course he would do that. That's an LA studio. He's probably close with a lot of those people.
Yeah.
He really likes having this celebrity. He likes making money, yes, but he really likes like throwing his weight around and being like, I can be a tastemaker here. And just because he was off here doesn't mean there was some other weird conspiracy in the background. A lot of those companies do pay for spots. That one, like this happens almost just as frequently where Keighley's like, I'm going to pick a game and put it in this show. Jan, I think so. I think it's going to be something where Jeff Keighley's really going to have to like shake things up and reestablish what that one more thing looks like in the future so that he doesn't have to deal with this again.
Yeah. And the unfortunate part, Grub, is that moving forwards, it's going to follow the game that is in that one last thing or one more thing spot. No matter if it is tied to like a big gigantic IP, because now it's going to feel like it is like a target on its back.
Yeah, there's probably a handful of like publishers and games that's like can withstand that no matter what. But if you're an unknown property, I would be terrified of that spot going forward. It feels almost cursed.
Yeah, I Colonel Sanders in the Twitch chat. He's going to convince Valve to shadow drop Half-Life 3 after the awards this year. Valve doesn't need to do that. They don't need to occupy that spot during the Game Awards. But also, even a big publisher like Valve, I could see them kind of just wanting to not get that type of attention that way, or get that type of
right. Just control everything themselves, right?
Exactly.
It's just right. You never know when that weird little kid from that podcast is going to bust onto the stage and start talking about his Rabbi Bill Clinton. You got to just lock those things down yourself.
I hope that kid falls down some stairs.
He's weird. Yeah. Okay. So Highguard is done. Oh yeah, real quick. Now we have Fair Games still to come. Marathon is launching this week, Jan.
Yeah.
I saw a post on Twitter, I think it was, from someone who was like looking at the numbers, and it was like, oh, based on wish lists and the publicly available data on SteamDB, looks like this game's heading for about at least 100,000 sales early on Steam, and 40,000 plus concurrent peak players on Steam this weekend. And so that's a game that took years and years to make at a very expensive studio. It's probably another one of these $150 to $250 million games. It needs to sell 7 to 11 million copies to really recoup all that and make it make sense. Feels like it's a long way from doing that. And then Fair Games is off on the horizon if that ever even comes out. How are you feeling about this space across the board?
I really want it to succeed, Grubb, just for the sheer sake of the industry and the team that's been working on Marathon for years at this point. It's wild to think, Grubb, that I'm not 100% sure how long Highguard took in development, but to think that within 3 months, maybe more than 3 years worth of work can just go out the window. And I hope that Marathon will find its audience. And I hope that maybe the popularity of a game like Arc Raiders will translate over, and that hopefully Marathon could be the next cool thing. Again, definitely not my type of game. It's going to be one of those games that I'm happy to check out with everyone here on Giant Bomb, and I hope it winds up being sticky for me, for other people.
Same.
If $40, unfortunately, is a big barrier of entry for some folks when you can have a free-to-play game. But I hope that is enough or low enough for some people to just take the chance.
Yep, exactly. It's a weird space overall. It does feel like a low tide for it, and I bet a lot of publishers take time to reset and maybe come back into it with fresh ideas. But for now, it's like I would treat it like a third rail. It's just like, it seems dangerous out there. Let's keep our heads down. Okay, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the U.S. government maybe going after Tencent for reasons. We'll get into that and more after these messages. If you want to skip out on the ads, you go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. Once you do that, you can go to the website, find ad-free versions of the audio and video shows. In the meantime, we will be right back. All right, we're back. It's Game Mess Mornings. Jan Ochoa, Jeff Grubb. Tencent's role in U.S. gaming market faces political uncertainty. This is from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. Tencent's stakes in various American video game companies could be at risk, as U.S. President Donald Trump's administration is debating whether the Chinese company's investment poses a security risk. According to the Financial Times and Reuters, several people familiar with the internal deliberations are assessing Tencent's investments ahead of Trump's upcoming meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping next month. The Financial Times sources added that Tencent has been negotiating with the U.S. administration's Committee on Foreign Investments for years now, but the acquisition of Clash of Clans studio Supercell, which has a huge U.S. user base, reignited fears surrounding the company. Tencent is well known for having invested in many video game companies across the world, including a 28% stake in Fortnite maker Epic, It also owns Riot Games, which makes League of Legends and Valorant, and has stakes in other notable video game companies like From Software, Krafton, Larian Studios, and Ubisoft. The scrutiny from the U.S. government started with former U.S. President Joe Biden's administration as concerns were raised regarding the collection of private information from millions of U.S. citizens and Tencent's ties to the Chinese military. Okay. Yeah. Look, I get it. Tencent is this monolith and clearly has a lot of unfair advantages based on its relationship to its own government and how that insulates it in a way, because like not a lot of other companies can go into that market and compete with Tencent. So Tencent has this just massive protected user base that gives it a ton of money that it can then wield around the world, and it can make demands, and it can make can't, maybe it's not outright saying, hey, you can't do this kind of speech in your game, but if people want to make that money, it might freeze or put sort of a cooling effect on that kind of speech. Yeah, sure, okay. And that stuff we will continue to criticize. That is, the motivations here are the same they were for the TikTok thing, where it's like, let's control this stuff and take it away from, we don't want Chinese propaganda or whatever. And this industry is looking around being like, we haven't seen a lot of that Chinese propaganda in the games. What we have seen is a lot of money propping up a lot of people's jobs.
Yeah.
And are you just going to like force Larry Ellison to come in here and buy this stuff as well? And we have to sit around hoping that they don't fuck it up the way that they fucked up TikTok. And now, like, it's not just like TikTok in this situation. It's dozens of studios across the industry and tens of thousands of jobs. And this is like one of the like, you got to think about it as a market, everybody, where it's like you have a product that you're trying to get out in the world, and you are competing for potential investment, and having at least one big investor out there still spending money makes it a little bit more likely that you can pit them against one other potential investor, maybe get more money or increase your value, and have enough resources to actually produce games. This feels like it will certainly put a freezing effect on the way that people go about trying to get their games funded, and maybe make it completely impossible for them to do so. Jan,
it's I was gonna say it's wild that in the year 2026 we still have this gigantic anti-Chinese sentiment going around. But then I realized, no, it's 2026. It's not wild for that, especially given the current administration, where they're fear-mongering that the Chinese have all of our data and that they can't have it. So that's why we had to buy TikTok. But it's okay if we have all of the data. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you froze for me for a second, but I think it's probably all right.
The government, they're after me. But it's okay if the American government has access to all of that and can sell that data to whoever they want to. And this stupid fucking sentiment that, like, oh, the Chinese, they're going to have all of this stuff and they're going to start breeding all this propaganda in our video games. You stupid fucks, you're already doing it yourselves.
Yes, there's just that report this week that the U.S. government, which has long time been the biggest purchaser of our advertising data, had ICE use that data to track people. Like the thought here that they are protecting us from anything is a joke.
Yeah.
And it's like if China's going to have our data, well, they're going to have our data regardless. I know it's nihilistic, but they're going to have our data regardless. I still would like some developers to be able to get some money out of all this so they can make some games.
Yes, 100%. I by no means am I defending Tencent at all, but at least they are giving money and funding games. And I know the runway isn't as long or as great as it should be, but they are still funding games versus whatever fucking crapshoot we have over here, Grubb, where they don't fucking know what they're doing and they haven't known what they're doing.
Yep.
I don't know. For me personally, Grubb, it also just really bugs me because after leaving, being now on the other side of the pandemic, however removed we are from COVID-19, gigantic anti-Chinese sentiment, anti-Asian sentiment. And then for them to continue feeding this fire of like anti-Chinese, anti-Asian, who knows who they're going to fucking go up against now and try and continue more hate speech. It's fucking stupid and it sickens me. I hope he does.
They do it because they know they can get away with
maybe shouldn't have said that, but
No, I'm with you. They know they can get away with it because of the bigotry that's built in. Like if they try to do this to a lot of other, like if they tried to do this to a European company, everyone would be like, "What are you doing?" But because the bigotry is built in here, they can get away with a lot more. They can just do the MSG playbook, where it's like, let's make it scary, and we'll go from there. It is funny to watch this like past 2 weeks. Like China got real quiet. Like, hey, if your enemy is destroying themselves, do not interrupt. Just get real quiet and let them fuck up. And hey, it's working out really well for them as we continue to just unravel any sort of power that we have. It's absurd. I look. This is one of those things where you go, oh, okay, they talk about this. Do they really do it? But they often do follow through with these crazy ideas in this government. So we'll see how this plays out. It's just as likely that they lose political like power. They lose political sort of capital as we get closer to the midterms and stuff like that, or get through the midterms if such a thing even happens. And then they kind of like lose focus on this. But in the meantime, this feels like it could go through at any minute.
The thing that I'm curious to see is that if any of these people that are still supporting and propping up this administration that are like, the normal person, do they not, and the answer is probably no, but do they not see that all of this is motivated so they can line their own pockets, right?
Yeah, of course.
Is this going to go to Larry Ellison? Is this going to go to Kushner? Who's this going to go to within this fucking family tree?
Yep, it's beyond crony capitalism. It's just straight up a mob family running the government and throwing like it would be a shame if something were to happen to your video games, wouldn't everybody? Don't worry, we'll protect you from the bad guys. But just we got to get it instead.
Like Grubb, this is like I don't have a tinfoil hat on here, but no. and the playbook is already out there, gang. But they're already taking away your adult entertainment. They're going to start controlling the regular entertainment. And now this is a different third prong approach to control the narrative or start to control the narrative of video games.
Yep. It's all like different pinpoints on the timeline to fascism. It's like, and it all fits in there. It's another way of controlling media. They want full control of that. I mean, they've made that very, very clear that any sort of dissent against them is something to be punished and overtaken and purchased by Larry Ellison.
Go vote. Definitely, please go vote. If you're in America. Yep. I mean, wherever you are, go vote too.
All right, let's keep going here. The studio that worked on Fallout denies it's behind a New Vegas remaster. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Developer Iron Galaxy has denied reports that it's working on a remaster of Fallout New Vegas, though it's widely expected such a game is indeed in the works. In a social media post, the studio said, "Nope, there is nothing to see here in regards to the claim that Iron Galaxy was possibly working on a new Fallout project." The rumor stemmed from a February 26th post from Iron Galaxy that showed Fallout New Vegas's "Please Stand By" loading screen. It's basically like them saying, hey, they said, today's our February company meeting. It's time to catch up with what the company's been up to and what's coming up next for Iron Galaxy. And then they had an image of someone's desktop computer, and it's two screens. On one screen is the big New Vegas Please Stand By loading screen. And on the other screen is that in like a streaming window or something like that. I can't tell, maybe an editor of some sort, but it's that again, basically. It's the focal point of the shot. Like it feels like, hey, we are trying to say something with this. Now, when we talked about this on the Bombcast, Jan, before they had any sort of thing follow up to say, it was like, hey, it would be weird for them to tease Fallout this way, for Iron Galaxy to have the go ahead from Microsoft and Bethesda to take this sort of teasing into their own hands, because otherwise it just wouldn't happen. But on the other hand, it would be weird for them to tease this and for it not to be true, because they clearly know people will make this the assumption here. Why would they do that? Now they've said, nope, there's nothing to see here. Do you think there's nothing to see here?
I don't believe this man.
I don't know if I believe him.
He's too tall to be truthful all the time.
He's got to be jam-packed with lies to get that high.
This man has too much sauce.
He's Dave Lang, who we're talking about, everybody.
Yes.
The guy in charge of Iron Galaxy. I know Adam Boyce was a co-CEO, and Adam Boyce left a little bit ago. But yeah, look, Fallout New Vegas, there is probably something happening with that. They have done an Oblivion remaster. The obvious next thing for them to do is a Fallout 3 remaster, but Fallout New Vegas is the same engine as well. The work that they've done on these other two projects, they very likely are doing Fallout 3 like right now, will just go right into Fallout New Vegas. And yeah, Iron Galaxy has worked on Fallout before, right? I know I read that earlier.
I
yes.
want to say they have, yes.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's easy to just see maybe they've done that. I guess, they worked on Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 VR. Okay. So,
is this a case of like NDAs getting mixed up, perhaps?
Maybe. Like, there could be more, like, it could be them just being like, this is something that's already been publicly announced, and we're just kind of reminding everybody we're working on it, and it hadn't been. I doubt it. These things are usually pretty locked down, though. So,
I'm not going to lie, though. I would think this would be a hilarious power move from Dave Lang saying, like, just let us do it. We'll do it.
Yeah, right.
The best rumors are the ones you start yourselves.
Right. You can, the secret manifesting, Dave Lang's definitely a secret guy, so that makes sense. Crimson Desert marketing director responds to review drama. We're not hiding anything. This is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. Crimson Desert has been on a slow rolling takeover of online gamer hype. Months of new footage and features trickling out, capped off by a recent glowing pre-release assessment by Digital Foundry, has players excited but also worried that the hyper-polished looking, sprawling open-world adventure game from a studio known for MMOs might be too good to be true. Underlying that concern is the recent news that the review embargo for Crimson Desert is only 24 hours before launch. That's pretty normal. Yeah. And outlets that have received code have been told they can only get the PC version, prompting people to ask, is this another Cyberpunk 2077 situation?
I don't.
Look, it's possible, Jan, right? Like that, it's possible, but I don't think that one necessarily means the other. Sometimes it's just harder to get console code because it takes longer to get the certification or whatever. Well, we've had these conversations with PR and with these companies all the time where, hey, can we get this? We're like, we don't have that yet.
Yeah.
And we might not until later. And my first assumption in those cases is there's something else going on, not that there's a Cyberpunk 2077 situation. I think the reason people are making that leap here, Jan, is this game does look incredible. It looks like next gen. It looks like the promises of a lot of ideas of what gaming could be are coming together in what looks like a AAA package. And that's got people really excited, and it's using like physics and all this stuff. It's just like kind of a super game in a lot of ways. And so it's like, it does look too good to be true, making these kinds of conspiracy theories feel a little bit more plausible. That said, there could be something here. I do want to see this thing running on console. Let's see what it really looks like. I mean,
sure.
Until then, I would be somewhat skeptical. Just don't go and pre-order the thing, I guess. But I'm going to wait until reviews before I really start jumping on this thing. What do you think?
Grubb, who is the studio that is making this again? I wasn't familiar with them. But I say that to bring up, I don't know, there's developmental talent around the world at this point. And
yes, clearly.
Maybe they're just, if this is like one of their first games, they are not as ready to deal with like console codes as other studios.
I think so. They're the Black Desert Online developers. They have done MMOs.
Okay.
It's the name of the studio is Pearl Abyss. They've been around since 2010, but they've only done MMOs up to this point.
Sure.
So and I think they've only done MMOs that at least first came out on PC. So yeah, this would be their first simultaneous release. That there could be something to that, where it's like we're used to doing things on PC. We know what to do there. We are sort of navigating the console stuff at launch for the first time, whereas before we had all the time in the world because we just ported things to console later.
Yeah,
I could see that being a reasonable explanation for what's happening here.
I don't think it is too crazy for a game to only have PC code available to reviewers. The time window, and especially given the what looks like the, I guess, scope of the game, a little odd for sure. But I don't know. It could be a weird sleeper hit. Someone in chat brought up that like Wukong was kind of a surprise, and then like it was a runaway success as well.
And we've seen that a couple of times now. Yeah, from especially these studios that worked in mobile or MMOs before.
Yeah,
shifting over to I'm going to make a big boy console game. It's like, cool. Like, you didn't have to. You guys had your niche, but that's cool if that's what you want to do. And then they show up, and it's like, oh, I see why that's what you wanted to do. You knew how to cook, and this game
Yes.
feels like that is what's happening here.
Like,
and that's, yeah. Go ahead.
Stellar Blade came from. Am I correct in that
They made
that was
mobile games
also-
before.
Yeah, so it is not the most insane leap in my head, Grubb. Yeah.
Same. I'd say I'm kind of expecting that at this point that this is going to be this year's one of those, and maybe the best one of those so far. And one of those being game that came from a studio wouldn't necessarily expect to release a game like this, and then it's like actually shockingly good and kind of takes over gaming hype for a little bit. And that taking over gaming hype at least is happening. Will Powers, who is their marketing director for the game, wrote on Twitter saying, "We're not hiding anything, and I'm sick of having to repeat myself. I've repeated hundreds of times that we'll reveal things ahead of launch to give people adequate time to still pre-order the game for themselves. We're saying this openly. Let us cook, please and thank you." And then the slash end of rant. Okay, Will Powers made a decision there to kind of come out swinging a little bit. I don't know. Does that sound a little bit like thou doth protest too much, or what?
To an extent, Grubb, I can understand the frustrations, especially.
Oh, of course, having to deal with gamers, of course.
Yeah. Especially when people are expecting your doom before you even get out the gate. And maybe Crimson Desert is one of those games where it might be hard to explain or be able to parse out in a couple sentences or whatever, even like a preview of what this is all supposed to be. Because I have like, I'm watching the IGN's preview video that they posted about 2 or so hours ago, and I don't quite know what this game is either.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one of the things that's kind of characteristic of many of these games that like come from Asian developers that did other stuff. They throw everything into their games. It's like, wait, so what is this? It looks like an action adventure game. Oh, that's a bunch of cows on a conveyor belt. It's like, okay, all right. Don't always know what's going on.
And also, Grubb, even if this doesn't resonate with anyone on our team or necessarily anyone in our audience, that doesn't mean that it is not going to be a huge smash hit.
Oh, yes. Like, often it means it will be a smash hit if none of us are paying attention to it. Yeah.
Like Wukong, none of us really jived with, but that was a huge game. What is it? Wuthering Waves?
Wuthering Waves, yes.
Was another big hit that didn't resonate with us that much. And there was another one. It was a survival game, I think, also from a Korean studio, where it looked like a Death Stranding. There was an umbilical cord or something. I forget what that one was called.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But yeah, it's we'll see. The game's out very soon. They probably do need to come out with some console stuff to show off to people here pretty soon. They say they will. So okay, well, I'm gonna give them a chance to do that, and yeah, then I'm going to play this game when it launches. I am curious at this point. I want to see if it sort of delivers on the hype that has been built up. All right, continuing along here, 3 classic titles are coming to Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch on March 10th. This is from Nintendo on Twitter. Virtual Boy for Nintendo Switch Online members, and I think this is for people who have the expansion pack, will begin getting Mario's Tennis and Mario Clash, and then Game Boy Advance for Nintendo Switch, which I think is also expansion pack members, will get Mario versus Donkey Kong, which is the sort of basis, the original of the game that got remade for Switch a few years ago. Maybe it was last year. So cool that they also are going to give you the chance to play the GBA original. Cool. Mario's Tennis is definitely worth playing. That's a pretty good Virtual Boy game, and probably one of the better ones. Mario Clash is actually not all that bad either, although Wario is probably still the best game overall. Weird that they held back on these games, other than the fact that they're coming on Mario Day, right?
Yeah, I guess this makes me curious as to what they have planned for Mario Day this year, unless maybe the primary focus is just propping up the movie.
I mean, that could probably is it, right? That movie comes out April 1st, so it's 3 weeks later. That is the time to start talking about that movie.
April 1st. The release date has to be intentional, Grubb, right? Like, is this secretly going to be a Wario movie?
They moved it up. It was April 3rd, and then they moved it up to April 1st. I think that's right. Someone in chat can correct me. I'm sure that's not exactly right. But yeah, look, I expect some character. I wouldn't be surprised if a Wario shows up in this movie, something along those lines, because it's they have already shown us a bunch of Yoshi stuff. We knew Yoshi was going to be in there, and Baby Bowser, and it's like, and Bowser is in prison in the movie. They have him captive, so it's like, to me, that is a setup for Baby Bowser tries to do something, and he screws up, maybe unleashing a bigger bad, and that could be Wart or Wario or something, and then Bowser has to work with Mario to help Baby Bowser defeat the bigger bad. That is my expectation for this movie, and I think that Wario could easily fill in that slot.
Greg, we've seen a lot of like different inclusions out. They're calling this Super Mario Galaxy, right?
Yes, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, I think.
Despite having a lot of different influences, especially from Odyssey in this game, do you think we'll see any Paper Mario representation in this?
I think there's going to be so many references that yes, okay. Yeah. I mean, because that's the whole, at this point, that's like the thing you can rely on from this movie. Having non-cringy needle drops, probably not. Having a really well done Pixar-like story, probably not. But you could probably rely on a lot of really well done references and member berries, which, okay, whatever. People know what they're paying for. You're right. Hey, what is Mario Day going to look like? I'm at this point leaning towards it's just going to be focused on the movie. But they could have one other thing. I don't think we get the 3D Mario announced at Mario Day this year or something like that.
Yeah, I could see them possibly waiting for the summer. Maybe
yes,
like a tease or something. But even if they don't announce whatever new Mario 3D platformer Mario would be at Mario Day, I don't think that is like a death knell for the Switch 2's 2026.
No, yeah, especially going into Pokopia this week, it feels like Switch 2 is going to get a lot of life breathed into it right now. As I continue, I think that is going to be this year's big, surprising Animal Crossing-like launch of everyone's playing it. All right, Resident Evil Requiem, meanwhile, is the other one of those. Is Capcom's fastest-selling horror hit yet. This is from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. Resident Evil Requiem is already a big hit for Capcom, as it reached 5 million in sales in just 5 days. The company says that it achieved this sales milestone faster than its previous mainline release, Resident Evil Village, and it was quicker than the recent remakes of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4. There were already signs that Requiem was off to a strong start, as the game reached a new series record of over 344,000 concurrent players on Steam at one time, and it has so far been met with a positive reception from both critics and fans alike. It is right up there as like the number 2 or 3 game on Metacritic, according to user reviews, which is like people just very happy about this game. How this compares to others, so it's out, it's selling faster than all those other games mentioned. What did those games go on to do? Monster Hunter World is their bestseller at 22 million, Rise at 18.2 million after that. Resident Evil 2 2019, though, is their best-selling Resident Evil game. And again, this game is selling faster than that one. That went on to sell 16.8 million, and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard sold 16.4 million. So this one feels like it's on pace to rush to a 17, 18, maybe 20 million.
1738.
1738, exactly. Hey, Resident Evil keeps getting bigger because they keep investing in Resident Evil. It just feels that simple, right?
Yes, Grubb. I am very hyped and excited for Capcom just because they continue to be making good decisions after good decisions. Not all of them land, of course, but again,
not everything's perfect. Yeah,
no, not everything's perfect. But with Resident Evil, at least, they've been on such a heater that I'm happy that this game is not only good, but it's also resonating with the audiences out there. And I've seen a lot of people, Grubb, expressing that they're not normally a horror game person, but they are just seeing the positive hype with this, or
it's hard to ignore this one.
Yeah, that oh, okay, I know Leon S. Kennedy, so he's back in this game. Maybe I'll go check this out for him. And then, I've seen a lot of people really fall in love with the character of Grace, and I'm just excited to see what that could mean for the future of Resident Evil. Grubb, if you will allow me to put my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah.
Capcom succeeding, right? And despite the mixed reception of the last Monster Hunter game, overall, been on quite the heater, right? RGG, also, despite Kiwami 3's whole drama with the shitty voice actor, that's incredibly problematic, and them doubling down on it. Still been on quite the heater, right?
Yeah.
All this negativity in the games industry, I think, is maybe because the industry has kind of shifted towards a more Western mentality.
Or Eastern, you mean like the games from Japan, or what do you mean? What do you mean Western mentality?
Because of like focusing so much on these live service games and trying to
you mean that they're paying the price for doing things in the way that the Western companies wanted them to? Yes. Okay. Yes. Definitely. Like, I think, I keep going back to that metaphor of Boeing of, you have people that are in charge that come from the game side, or you have people in charge that come from the money side. And Boeing was like, we have people in charge for a long time that were in charge of the plane side, and we did very well, but we've sort of reached a plateau. Let's put the money people in charge. And that made them a lot of money until it didn't, because they killed people because they did such a bad job making planes. Obviously not as much stake in video games, but I think the same thing happens, especially at Western studios and Western publishers, where it's like, we know we answer to the investors. We're going to put the person who's best at answering to investors in charge. And it's just not a long-term strategy. It's not a strategy for long-term growth. It's always immediate returns, and whatever happens, but we'll figure it out then. And it's like, oh yeah, clearly that's what you guys are doing, and that's what led you here. And meanwhile, anyone else working in another part of the world that has a little bit of an opportunity to step back and approach things with a deliberate, meaningful pace. And it's like, a lot of those reasons are cultural. A lot of those reasons are legal, because there's labor laws in Japan that force people to really think before they hire someone. And that's having its own problems in Japan. I know, people are like, hey, we're getting maybe overworked in some ways. That's starting to pop back up again. But yeah, sustainability should be the goal at this point. And it's not even in the rear view mirror for a lot of Western publishers.
This is why I've started to slowly turn on. I was initially a little bit negative on the news that you talked about on Monday, Grubb, of Santa Monica maybe making a God of War game. But I've kind of started to slowly warm up to the idea, because if they are just using their existing tool set and everything they've already made, it kind of feels like a play out of...
Feels like Judgment, right?
Yeah, it feels like a Judgment. Feels like they're perhaps learning from someone like RGG or Capcom, because that Resident Evil engine has paid off dividends for them.
Yeah.
So if they are taking the tools and all the learnings from that, and maybe they can devote more work to other aspects of development, I hope it's a success. And I am starting to get kind of excited for what the prospects of that game could be.
Yep. Capcom also mentioned that its PC sales make up more than half of its revenue, and they expect that ratio to continue to grow. This is another one of those things where it's like they invested in their games, they invested in bringing those games to PC, did a really good job with them for the most part, and Monster Hunter World's not accepted, or being the exception. Beyond that, though, they've done a lot of work to invest in that space, and again, this is paying off over time. And obviously, Capcom, we keep saying, is the model a lot of these companies should be looking at, and a lot of them have. And now we get Konami sort of popping off, and the idea that PlayStation might be looking to that model as well, with let's just take what we have, kind of build on it, maybe spin some stuff off while using a lot of the same kinds of assets here or there. I would be encouraged by that personally.
Similarly, Grubb, we saw that the Silent Hill 2 remake did incredibly well, and that Bloober team could just reuse a lot of those assets and flip it around to remake Silent Hill 1.
Yep, exactly. C. Bromba 1 with the super chat says, do we even have the technology to make Leon hotter? I don't know. Doesn't say. I don't think so. I want to see them try, though. I would like to see them try.
Here's what they do. 2 Leons.
Okay. All right. Now we're talking. Hey, that's possible. That's according to the lore. That's possible. Let's see. Nintendo confirmed for PAX East 2026. This is from Go Nintendo. But basically, PAX just listed a bunch more of the people who are going to be there. They didn't say anything about what specifically could show up. Nintendo has sometimes been at PAX, often has not been at PAX. I think if anything, the best case scenario here, Jan, is a situation where it looked a lot like it did at that PAX East we went to, where they showed off Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Yeah. And we got to play that for the first time. It's okay, maybe a game like that that it's coming out later this year. Maybe it just gets announced, or it's been announced and we finally get a chance to play it. Like Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life could easily be there. Tomodachi Life will not be out by the time we're at PAX. No, it won't be. So I'm happy to see this, and then wouldn't be surprised if it's a worst case scenario of here is a small little booth that has all of our games that have already been released, and it's like an installation at a Best Buy. That could also be the case, right?
All that being said, if that is the case, I'm also okay with it, because that PAX we attended, I believe it was West, where they just had like a gigantic Kirby car. And then like a photo installation of Super Mario Brothers Wonder with a gigantic pipe to take pictures with. I thought it was really well done. The museum aspect of it was also really neat to see. So if they are just trotting out a bunch of older games, I think I'd be okay with that. That big orchestral band that they had that was playing was also very neat. And if this is just Nintendo trying to get boots on the ground and appeal and to see their constituents, I'm okay with that.
Super Bell Hill, let's go!
Wow, you just had that. Oh my gosh.
Nintendo at PAX would be excellent. I would, if they kind of come with a little bit of extra zhuzh like they did. That's PAX West though, and it's like they're in Seattle.
They're right there, yeah.
So it's like I always like get a little bit more hopeful for that. I hope that they could just bring that same energy here, because we're going to be there, and I would like to see that. Okay, that does it for the headlines. We have the poll question we need to get to from Monday, and then we'll have a new poll question for you. Let me refresh the results, make sure that we have everything here. There we go. Just going to scroll down a little bit. Are you picking up Pokemon Pocopia at launch? Yes or no? I am. I'm putting a yes, and so are 26% of respondents. 74% say no. I think that's about right. This is one of those ones where it's like, okay, I could have easily seen this at like 15% before the reviews, because it's a $70 game. People have to kind of talk themselves into it.
Yeah.
And then as word of mouth spreads over the next couple of weeks, and all of these cozy streamers are going to be playing it, I think that number goes up pretty fast, Jan.
Yeah, I think the proximity also to being so close to Resident Evil 9 may have thrown people off of getting it from launch day, as well as
sure. Yeah.
There is no physical release for this, or there isn't one planned?
No, there is, but it's a game key card. That's another one. That is going to be another significant percentage point on this chart here of people being like, I would love to, but I'm not going to get a game key card. Like, that's still real.
Yeah. And also for the folks that maybe voted no on this poll, I'm assuming maybe they also don't have a Switch 2 yet.
Right.
But this, as popularity builds, Grubb, I could see maybe not.
This is a system seller. I think this game's a system seller. Right. Yes. I mean, for that audience that has been like, that loves Pokemon, is excited about the 30th anniversary, was thinking about, I already have a Switch 1, I'll play ZA on there, or maybe I'll wait to get it until I get a Switch 2. I think this sort of clicks them over to be like, oh, I'll get to play that and Pocopia, and then maybe pick up maybe pick up Donkey Kong. Like again, I talk about all the narrative of when you talk to yourself to spend $500 on something becomes a lot easier when a game like this hits. So I think it's going to get a lot of people who do not have Switch 2s to show up for a Switch 2. Maybe not like tens of millions, like an Animal Crossing necessarily, but some fraction of that.
Yeah, I've continued to play it, Grubb. And like, sometimes we'll bounce off of a game after the initial podcast discussion or leading up to it, but like I can feel the momentum, and I want to see what this is like in a multiplayer setting as well.
Let's see. We have a new poll question. Let's do that real quick. I did not say nude poll question, everybody. How many PlayStation games have you purchased for PC? 0, 1, 2, 3, or more. We'll get the results, talk about it on the show tomorrow here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, Jan, what do we have going on?
Later, there's a bell on you. I don't know if you know this.
There's a bell on me?
Yes.
Did it not go away?
No.
I'm gonna play it again. Let's see if this fixes it.
Oh, you beat it.
All right. Question mark. Did the question mark make it go away?
No, it's still there.
Okay.
Anyway,
right, well, I'll live with this bell then.
Blake Club, the Blightning round. Sorry, happening later today. For Mikey's sake, I hope he finishes it today. Also, for as much as I enjoy Bundle of Nerves, I need to move on from Virtuoso.
I want to miss it, right? I want to miss it. Exactly. I want to go back. Yeah, it's It's like overplayed because it's so good. I don't want to ruin it.
Right. It's like, I think that is our Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso. It got overplayed.
Uh-huh.
I enjoy it enough, but I need it to go away now. Later today, we'll also be posting a new episode of This Is the Run, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Folks, tune in. It's honestly one of my favorite things, and I really enjoy this iteration, or this season at least, of This Is the Run, because game shows are just fun.
Game shows are great. We'll be doing more of this in the future.
Voicemail dump truck popping off tomorrow. We have a very packed Friday as well, folks. The schedule hasn't been updated, but Game S mornings, and then a multiplayer Pocopia stream, and then UPF, where we'll probably do Marathon. And then Mikey's going to have himself his own launch day Pocopia stream. If folks didn't check out the World of Warcraft one yesterday, Mikey went through that expansion. And Grubb, I don't like it because I thought about getting WoW.
Yeah, the house building stuff actually was way more enticing than I ever thought World of Warcraft would be to me.
Yeah.
But then I did see a quest in Midnight where the quest was like, hey, tell us which of these cogs is moving in the wrong direction. And it's 4 cogs, and all of them are going in one direction, and one of them is going in a different direction, and they're huge and very easy to look at. But then the one that is going in the wrong direction is always a different looking cog. And it's like, are World of Warcraft players just dumb? And it's like, well, at least Blizzard thinks so. So, yeah.
Don't worry, folks. I still have to make good on one of the incentives to play Final Fantasy 14. So if I'm going to dive into an MMO, it's going to be 14.
All right. Let's see. Anything else we got to let people know about? No, I think we mostly covered it, Jan.
Oh,
that seems
Marry Me
good.
Tomodachi tomorrow as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best dating show on the internet, everybody. You definitely do not want to miss that. All right, Jan, I think with all that out of the way, let's get on out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Happy Sandwich Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Sandy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening and watching and all of that. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.